Good morning, year six. I hope you're well and getting on well with all your work and everything today. It's Tuesday, and we're going to have a look today at the continuation of chapter 4 of Private Peaceful. We're going to be retrieving some information from the text, and to be successful in that, we'll need to first identify what the question's asking. We'll then need to identify the key words within that question to focus on where we need to look. We might need to scan our text. If we were in a test, we might need to scan it just to get there quicker than we otherwise might, and to look for those trigger words, those words that are in the question and in the text, and they might prompt us to delve down specifically into that particular paragraph. And then we potentially with a quotation, but certainly with some evidence from the text, we're going to support our answer with that. Okay, guys, we're going to read from the end of page 50 to begin with, following through the text, and then we're going to carry on and look at some vocabulary as we go. Mother was as good as her word. How she did it and what was said, we never knew. But the next day, after Mother and the Colonel had had a meeting in his study, she made us stand in front of him and apologise. Then, after a long lecture about trespassing and private property, the Colonel said he'd changed his mind, that instead of the hiding, we would be set to cleaning out the Colonel's kennels every Saturday and Sunday until Christmas. As it turned out, we didn't mind at all because although the smell could be disgusting, the hounds were all around us as we worked, their tails high and waving and happy. Okay, guys, by reading around the context, then hopefully I've identified elements of the vocabulary here. Now, the synonym that I've been given for this word is dogs. Now, I know that there's part of this story which is residing in kennels from reading earlier on in the text. I know that the boys have been sent to clean out the kennels as part of their punishment for the poaching that they were caught doing on the Colonel's land. Now, kennels, I know I associate with dogs. Therefore, I know that the kennels are part of this. Now, the animals which live within the kennels here aren't referred to as dogs. The Colonel's kennels house something else. And if I look, I can see what it might be because it's the hounds. Okay, so the hounds, because it says, as it turned out, we didn't mind at all because although the smell could be disgusting, the hounds were all around us. So these are the things which are living within the kennels. These are synonymous with dogs. So I know that the hounds were all around us is the quotation. I can see that hounds has one syllable. I didn't put that in on this. Sorry about that, guys, but I'm sure you can. And the definition is dogs which are housed in groups. Now, the fact that they're housed in groups and they're housed in kennels, although I normally associate kennels with dogs, I don't think kennels are actually where normally dogs would be housed if they were part of a family. So I'm thinking, how are hounds different to dogs? It's due to the fact they're housed in groups, maybe. So maybe slightly different definition. Unfortunately, the colonel liked to hunt with his hounds, and that's what hounds tend to be housed for. They're used to support somebody hunting. And maybe I, as a writer, or maybe you, as a writer, believe that's a good thing, and then you say fortunately, or maybe you're showing your viewpoint as a writer where you say unfortunately. Unfortunately, the colonel liked to hunt with his hounds. Synonyms then dogs and antonyms cats. I'm sure you can think of better antonyms and synonyms than those. But the clue word there you had, the synonym was dogs, and then you needed as a reader to delve down into the other trigger words which you knew were linked to dogs when you scan through the text. Carrying on to page 51 then. So we often stopped work to pet them after we'd make sure no one was looking. We had a particular favourite called Bertha. She was almost pure white with one brown foot and had the most beautiful eyes. She would always stand near us as we scraped and swept, gazing up at us in open adoration. Every time I looked into her eyes, I thought of Molly. Like Bertha, she too had eyes the colour of heather honey. We had to be careful because Grandma Wolf, now more full of herself than ever, would frequently come out into the stable yard to make sure we were doing our work properly. She'd always have something nasty to say. Serves you right, or that'll teach you, or you should be ashamed of yourselves. Always delivered with a tut and a pained sigh. To finish, there'd be some nasty quip about Mother. Still, with a mother like that, I suppose you're not entirely to blame, are you? Not very nice, is she, Grandma Wolf? Then Christmas Eve came and our punishment was over at last. We said fond farewells to Bertha and ran off home down the Colonel's Drive for the last time, blowing very loud raspberries, thinking back to Joe, as we went. Back in the cottage, we found waiting for us the best Christmas present we could ever have hoped for. Molly was sitting there smiling at us as we came in through the door. She was pale, but she was back with us. We were together again. Her hair was cut shorter, the plaits had gone. Somehow that changed the whole look of her. She wasn't a girl anymore. She had a different beauty now, a beauty that at once stirred in me a new and deeper love. Right, lots going on in this passage. The change in the viewpoint that Tommy has of Molly due to her appearance and maybe he's grown up is quite noticeable. Also, this idea that Grandma Wolf's being horrible to them and the way that she's been horrible about their mother, that's going to keep colouring their relationship with her due to the fact that their mother is very special to them. She looks after them, she cares for them. This text, the word that you're looking for a synonym with is smug. Now, again, you've got to look at what you can see within this. You've got to think about, is it about Bertha? I'm not sure it is. Or is it about another character? Because smugness is smugness, the phrase or word that you're looking for that links to smugness, is a characteristic in a person. So I'm thinking, is Bertha being smug? Oh, is Bertha a person? Or is Grandma Wolf being smug? Is she a person? Think about that. Think about which of those two characters is a person. And then once you've spotted it is Grandma Wolf, because she's a person, whereas Bertha is a dog. Think about the passage where Grandma Wolf's been written about. Think about maybe it's the Colonel. Is it the passage where he's being written about? So look within those six passages about where the smug character is being shown, and then find the other elements of that vocabulary. Okay, guys, carrying on. I think without knowing it, I'd always charted my own growing up by constant comparison to Molly and Charlie. And that relationship, in that three-person relationship, is getting more complicated because Charlie and Molly are that bit older, whereas Tommy's younger. Day by day, I was becoming ever more painfully aware of how far behind I was. Wasn't just smaller and slower than they were. I'd never liked that, but I was used to it by now. The trouble was that it was becoming evident to me that the gap between us was more serious and that it was widening. It really began when Molly was moved up into the big uns class. I was stuck being a tiddler and they were growing away from me. But whilst we were still at the village school together, I didn't mind all that much because at least I was always near them. We walked to school together, ate our lunch together as we always had, up in the pantry in the vicarage where the vicar's wife would bring us lemonade, and then we'd come home together. I looked forward all day to that long walk home, the school day done, their other friends not with us, with the fearsome Mr. Munnings out of sight and out of mind for another day. We'd hare down the hill to the brook, pull off our great heavy boots and release our aching feet and toes at long last. We'd sit there on the bank, wiggling our toes in the blessed cool of the water. We'd lie amongst the grass and buttercups of the water meadows and look up at the clouds scudding across the sky, at the wind-whipped crows chasing a mewing buzzard. Okay, and again, similar strategy here. Looking at this text after I've thought about it, so I've thought about this and I've thought Tommy's really in turmoil. He's really not enjoying the change, the passage of time, because the three is becoming a two. I'm trying to show up my fingers and doing a really bad job, guys. I can't do Star Trek, but it's becoming a two and a one. They're separating into two groups of two and a one. Okay. Luckily, Mr. Spring's not a Trekkie, so he can't do that. But two and a one, rather than a group of three, it's now becoming a two and a one. So they're separating a little bit, and we see that with some of the aspects here. But here there's an antonym of veranda. So it's the opposite meaning to veranda. Remember veranda from our earlier reading around the so stories? Can we think of here a word which is the opposite to veranda? Well, I know veranda is a location, a place. So for it to be an antonym, it's also going to be a location or a place, but one which isn't outside like a veranda. So would it be a class? And then it might be this section, because I know class might be a word like that. Or is it pantry? So I need to think about what that might be. Okay, you've got that section to do initially, so your vocabulary work. Once you've completed your vocabulary work, year six, what I'd like you then to think about is retrieving information from the passages we've looked at today. According to the text, this is our first example question. According to the text, were the conditions good to steal food? Now, a lot of these questions don't give you the specific trigger word you're looking for. You need to use your knowledge of vocabulary. Now, within our text so far, there's been a verb which stealing food has been described of. Because the letter P, yeah, to poach. Okay, so what I need to think about is was it good conditions not to steal food but to poach? And then I've got that trigger word, steal food, synonymous with poaching. Then I look at the section around poaching, and it says we had a chosen a perfect poaching night, not a breath or wind, so we could hear anyone coming. And here I might get a 1 mark answer. On page 48, the author states that it was a perfect poaching night, which shows that conditions were good. Good. Okay. Happy with that 1 mark. Go and have a rest. Oh, I want to be smart. I want to be super. I want to add to my answer. I want to say then, furthermore, the narrator explains. So this is furthermore is that conjunction to add information. Furthermore, the narrator explained that the still conditions would mean they could hear anyone coming. Okay, that's really important because I hear people coming due to the fact that if you can't, you get caught. And then I can add even more because I'm really want to really hit the nail on the head and get a great answer. Additionally, Tommy's eventual nap adds evidence of the calmness in the surroundings. So the fact that he falls asleep shows that Tommy, or Tomo, I've put here, Tomo, the fact that he falls asleep shows that it really was very calm. And it was great to catch the fish, but unfortunately, because it's so calm, sleepy Tomo, and therefore they got caught. So the fact they got caught was due to it being a perfect poaching night in some respects. They could hear people coming, but it was so quiet that they actually fell asleep. And because Molly wasn't there to keep Tommy on his guard, they got caught. So similarly, trying to get that really in-depth answer, referencing the page where the text is maybe a direct quotation or certainly referencing the key characters and events. 4 questions here. Some of these questions you'll need to order and you'll get a piece of paper where you need to do that. So for example, question 2. And then for true or false questions like question 4, if you can write why they're false if you perceive them to be false and what the actual statement should be, that would be ideal. Okay. And with questions 1 and 3, try and put that evidence, whether it's a direct quotation or whether it be a reference to the characters or events, that would be great. Thank you, Year 6. So that's on this piece of paper for your retrieval work. I really look forward to receiving those. Thank you for your efforts today. See you soon.